Episode 4. Beneath the Stone Sky. The flight from Silverwatch Keep left them breathless but resolute. Huddled in the relative safety of the tangled woods bordering the foothills, they studied the ancient map under the dim glow of Lyra's focus stone. Two paths beckoned, south to the ancient Whispering Woods, home of the enigmatic elves, or north to the jagged peaks of the Ironpeak Mountains, the ancestral realm of the Dwarves. Borin Stonehand traced a calloused finger along the lines leading north. "My people delved deep," he rumbled, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. "If knowledge of Malcor, or the light of Aerion, survives anywhere, it will be carved in the roots of the mountains." Though Elara cautioned that dwarves were often less welcoming than secluded elves, Borin's conviction, and the map's intricate detailing of mountain passes, swayed the group. Their path led north. The journey was arduous. They climbed out of the shadow-tainted borderlands, the landscape slowly transforming from gloomy forests and marshes into windswept hills and finally, into the imposing presence of the Ironpeak Range. The mountains clawed at the sky, colossal sentinels of gray rock capped with snow, their peaks wreathed in cloud. The air grew thin and cold. Elara scouted ahead, finding paths known only to mountain goats and lonely prospectors. Grok's strength proved invaluable in clearing rockfalls and navigating treacherous slopes, while Kaelen maintained their weary vigilance, ever watchful for pursuit or ambush, though Vrakul's forces seemed absent this far north. Lyra practiced her magic discreetly, trying to draw warmth from the biting wind or mend small tears in their cloaks, her control improving slowly but steadily under Borin's quiet encouragement. Borin himself grew more introspective as they neared his ancestral home, often lost in thought, touching the faint warmth that sometimes pulsed from his chest. After weeks of travel, Elara led them into a high, hidden valley dominated by a sheer mountain face. Carved directly into the stone was a gate that dwarfed even Grok, a marvel of ancient engineering wrought in dark granite and reinforced with bands of rune-etched iron. Twin statues of legendary dwarven kings stood guard on either side, their stone eyes seeming to follow their approach. This was the entrance to Stonehold, the mightiest of the remaining dwarven kingdoms. As they approached, heavily armored dwarves with axes held ready and suspicion etched onto their bearded faces emerged from cleverly concealed guard posts. Their challenge was sharp, demanding names and business. Kaelen began to speak, but Borin stepped forward, striking his stone hammer against his leather-clad chest. Borin Stonehand, of the Lost Clan Hearthfire, seeks audience with Thane Borgrim. We bring grave news from the surface world, touching on matters of shadow and forgotten light. The guards eyed Borin's hammer, his simple attire and his surface-dwelling companions with open skepticism. Clan Hearthfire was known only in dusty records, vanished ages ago. Yet the dwarf's earnestness, and perhaps the mention of shadow, gave them pause after a tense debate relayed through speaking tubes back into the mountain. Eventually, the massive gates groaned open, revealing a vast, torch-lit tunnel sloping downwards. They were disarmed of all but Borin's hammer, deemed a tool, and Lyra's focus stone, dismissed as a trinket, and escorted under heavy guard through monumental corridors teeming with dwarven life. Miners returning from shifts, artisans hammering metal, merchants hawking wares, all of whom paused to stare distrustfully at the outsiders. The air hummed with the sounds of industry and the deep resonance of the mountain. They were brought before the High Council in the Great Hall of Stonehold. Thane Borgrim, ancient even for a dwarf, sat upon a throne carved from a single geode, his long white beard braided with rings of gold and iron, his eyes like chips of flint beneath heavy brows. Flanking him were other elders, clan lords and lore masters, their expressions ranging from stern disapproval to weary indifference. Kaelen briefly explained their journey and the threat of the Umbral, but it was Borin who held the floor. He spoke of the attack on Oakhaven, the symbol of Malcor, the battle in Silverwatch, and presented the obsidian shard. Then, hesitantly but firmly, he described the golden light, the connection he felt to Aerion, the Forge Father, a name that drew gasps and frowns from the council. He held up his hammer, letting the faint, warm light pulse within his hand, a phenomenon unseen in these halls for centuries. The reaction was immediate and largely negative. "Blasphemy," roared one lord. "Aerion is a myth, a tale for beardlings. Surface delusions brought into our halls," accused another. Thane Borgrim silenced them with a raised hand, his gaze fixed on Borin. "The light you claim, our ancestors spoke of it, yes, but it vanished with the sundering. The gods abandoned us, Stonehand. We trust in stone, steel, and the strength of our own arms, not in fading myths." Yet one elder, runekeeper Thrain, a dwarf whose beard was almost as long as the Thane's but thinner, leaned forward, peering intently at Borin and the shard. "The patterns of darkness you describe," Thrain murmured, his voice raspy with age. "And the light. There are echoes in the deepest runes, warnings long dismissed." A flicker of uncertainty crossed the Thane's face. He ruled that the companions would be housed within Stonehold, confined to the upper guest levels, while the council deliberated and Thrain investigated Borin's claims and the shard. They were guests, but also prisoners. Days turned into a week. Confined to well-appointed but heavily guarded chambers, the companions grew restless. Elara paced like a caged cat. Kaelen reviewed tactics in his mind. Grok chafed at the inactivity, and Lyra felt stifled, unable to practice her magic openly. Borin spent hours with runekeeper Thrain, poring over ancient scrolls and stone tablets in a dusty archive near the council chambers. Thrain, though cautious, seemed increasingly convinced that Borin's experience was genuine, matching fragmented prophecies of a time when shadow would stir again, and the old light would seek a vessel. Meanwhile, the companions heard whispers from the guards and serving dwarves. Hushed talk of unsettling tremors felt deep below, strange noises echoing up from the deeps, the lowest mining levels, sounds that hadn't been heard in generations. The mountain, it seemed, was uneasy. Driven by a growing sense of urgency and guided by Thrain, Borin convinced his companions they needed to see the Heart Runes, a chamber deep within the permitted guest levels known only to lore masters, said to resonate with the mountain's core. Thrain reluctantly agreed, disabling Warden runes to allow them access. The chamber was small, circular, its walls covered in powerful, interlocking runes that pulsed with a faint internal light. As Borin approached the central runestone, the warmth in his chest surged. He placed his hand upon it, reciting a phrase Thrain had found in a scroll fragment. The runes on the walls flared, bathing the chamber in golden light, and Borin felt a profound connection, not just to Aerion, but to the very stone around them. But the connection went both ways. A deep guttural roar echoed from far, far below, shaking the entire chamber. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the floor vibrated violently. The slumbering danger beneath Stonehold had been disturbed. Heavy armored footsteps pounded down the corridor outside. The door burst open, revealing Thane Borgrim himself, flanked by elite guards, his face a mask of fury. "What have you done?" Borin's connection to Aerion's light has awakened more than just hope. A terrible power stirs in the depths beneath Stonehold, and the companions are caught in the heart of the mountain's fury. Blamed for the disturbance, can they prove their innocence and warn the dwarves of the true threat? Episode 5. Quick cuts. A massive cavern deep underground, lit by lava flows. A colossal, shadowy beast made of rock and shadow stirs. Dwarven warriors preparing for battle within Stonehold. Kaelen arguing with Thane Borgrim. Elara finding a hidden passage. Lyra trying to calm the tremors with her magic. Grok holding a collapsing tunnel. Next time on Echoes of Eredor, chaos erupts in Stonehold. The companions must face the fury from the deep, forge an uneasy alliance with the dwarves, or find their own escape from the mountain's wrath. What monster lurks below? Click to watch Episode 5 and subscribe to Echoes of Eredor to find out.